Hey everybody, what's up? Circus here, coming at you with what I would like to start calling the Rye Report. I love how that sounds. But basically, every week I bring Ryan to talk about what we've seen in tournaments lately. Right
Mhm.
now, we're watching Mythyard play in the Meta Weekly. I think he's playing Fire Kings, or maybe he's just playing on ladder here, just so you know what's going on there. But Rye, you've seen a lot going on over the past
Mhm.
week since the new box, the new ban list. You've cast a few tournaments. Give us the report, buddy. What are we seeing?
This is the pure definition of chaos. That's what's going on
Yeah,
out
just
here. Yeah, you guys ever see that one reporter that's standing on the middle of the hurricane? That's me right now. Oh, this is what's going on. Yeah, no, it's it. I guess from the get-go to start off with, when Zexal launched and the new ban list and everything was going crazy, people are like,
Mhm.
okay, Cyber Dragon, that's the deck. And that has
that
not been the deck.
that
Oh my
is
god, it
not
has
the
not been
deck
the
at
deck.
all.
Not at all. If anything, Cyber Dragon may actually end up. It's funny, they were in a favorable meta. I think they're actually going to make not so much favorable meta as we approach kind of the following week of tournaments. Desperado Barrel Dragon has very clearly come out as the
Mhm.
king of the meta. But surprisingly, lately in tournaments, ever since pretty much MCS, that deck has not been winning tournaments. They've been topping like crazy. The conversion rate's really, really good. And, most will argue, consistency over results, right? Like, how many are actually topping versus how much actually win. There's two schools of thoughts that go
Right.
into how good a deck is. And definitely as far as, topping, the only other thing even is close is Invoke Neos coming back with the fire reload that we've had. So this meta is all over the place. It's exciting to watch it happen. It really does feel like, and this is kind of an interesting way too, because we've definitely degraded in power, right? Konami took all our power away when
Right.
they banned Casitas and all these other cards, and the decks that are on top all have very clear cut weaknesses. They're getting countered by cards like DNA Surgery, cards like Zombie World stop Noble Knights in their tracks. A lot of people are like, yeah, Noble Knights have to be a meme, right? There's no way they're good. And then it wins a battle phase. People
I
are like,
was, I
okay,
was gonna
Fire
ask
King.
you about that. Were you just excited, just ecstatic to finally they got their win? That's what they needed.
I knew it was coming, so I was kind of
Right.
like, yeah, that's expected. I looked at his bracket. He had 2 Desperado Barrel Dragons in the top 32 and no Invoke Neos. I was like, yeah, he's winning.
Yeah.
He's 100% gonna win, or he's gonna face Invoke Neos in the finals, and he's gonna lose to Invoke Neos. And then the Invoke Neos player, I believe, ended up playing against Fire King, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
'Cause I thought, okay, Fire King, that's got to be the meme of the format, right? There's no way. But then the Fire King Arvada being able to stop Winda. And then I realized if they can't use Winda, the deck falls apart. The whole deck is literally a stall deck. And if it can't stall
Right.
with Winda, they lose.
Yep. You got to
That's
stall
the
into your
key.
Purgatrio. Yep.
Yeah, and Invoke Neos itself is so fragile now. It reminds me of Dark Lord. If you use one Lancia on invocation, it's over. If you use the Cosmic Cyclone on the activated invocation, it's over. They lose. Unless they're able to
Right.
kill you with their current board, they're gonna lose. Um,
Yeah, because
so
they're only
it's
running one invocation.
yeah, I mean, you have to. No one in the right mind will play one Alistair, 2 Invo. That makes no sense.
Right.
You've already lost the duel at that point before it
Yep.
even started. So it's a very interesting meta. Desperado Barrel Dragon has very clear cut weaknesses, especially to a deck like Noble Knights. Noble Knights have a very clear cut lose condition to anyone that plays heavy back row, such as Invoke Neos or just a Desperado that goes
Hmm.
first and draws 4. I mean, no one can really beat that right now. That's kind of why
Right.
Desperado is still topping like no one's business. But at the same time, Invoke Neos loses to Fire Kings and anything else that stops Winda monster effects. It's just like it feels like the old rock paper scissors meta, but every rock paper scissors has 2 subclasses, and those subclasses each also have rock paper scissors that beat each other, and
Right.
some
Right.
beat each other in reverse, and some beat each other under certain circumstances, and this deck will beat this deck if I side deck this. So it's actually kind of difficult to really sit down and say this is clearly the best deck. The only one that even comes close is Desperado Barrel Dragon, which we've talked a lot on this channel
Desperado
about.
won the power rankings by 35 points.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
and even
huge.
though they're not winning the tournaments, they're still topping like crazy.
They had like 18 tops and 4 victories last week. That's insane.
Well, that was all before Invoke
Right,
Neos
but
really
now,
came
yeah,
in, right?
this week we're
Yeah.
seeing how it turns out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
So
now Invoke Neo's starting to come in and it's starting to
yeah.
shape it up a little bit. And I think more importantly, in Invoke Neos, we're starting to see a lot more DNA surgery,
Okay.
which is a crazy card. I didn't seriously think people would start playing it, but it makes sense, right? Like you flip that card up, stops Desperado. The only thing they can do is Super Buddy Team Force, stops Noble Knights. They can't equip their cards. It's pretty nuts when you think about it.
It's more for the than just for Buster Blader.
More than just Buster Blader. And then Zombie World, same thing with Zombie World. People that can't play Necro Valley, turn everything into zombies. We're good. Desperado can't do anything. Noble Knights can't do anything. Witchcrafters can't do anything. Not that Witchcrafters has really done much, unfortunately, but they're
Well, then
there you go. Side deck is starting to come up as well.
like Invoke Neos, they don't run a lot of back row hate either. I mean, they have Ballista
Mm.
Squad in there, but that's a very slow way to get rid of
Yeah.
back row or other cards on the field, So a deck like that loses really heavy to text like that.
Yeah, and Wall of D is also coming back because of Invoke Neos again,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually I think the wrong call because they have to remember Winda. People are like playing Invoke against Invoke Neos like it's the old Invoke Neos. You have to remember Winda. That deck is literally Winda the deck, but with invoked. It's more
Right.
Winda invoked, to be honest, than Neos invoked. But we'll see how it, like I said, it did win MCS, which is obviously one of those big high prize pool tournaments, uh, and that's really good considering how many were in the top four. But when you look at the side deck in MCS comparatively to the very next tournament, Battle Face Sunday the next day, where only 2 Invoke Neos even topped because everyone started bringing Lancia and Cosmic and all these other
Right. Right.
cards. It just kind of feels like this is a very scuffed version of Invoked Roids. That's what it feels like. Like it's an even worse version than Invoked Roids.
I think they just surprised everybody, right?
I think that's what it was. I think
Yeah.
just surprised everyone. Yes, it was a big tournament, but that doesn't necessarily mean that, for example, Damage Step Goki's won. I think Goki's just surprised everybody with Summon Breaker, rather than, yeah, Goki's did it. I think it was just Summon Breaker did it and no one had a counter until the tournament ended.
Right.
And I really do believe that Invoke Neos is not going to be the best deck of the format, right? I still think it's probably Desperado because the one thing that Desperado does that the other decks that do not is if Desperado is losing or in a losing situation, they can just top deck Cup of Ace, for example, and just win by being lucky because their first 3 cards that are supposed to be lucky are guaranteed to be lucky, right?
Right.
And then it evens out their bad luck later in the duel if
Yeah.
they get bad luck.
Well, yeah, if you start out really strong, you can set your
Yeah,
board and not have to worry about maybe a few misplays or mistakes or your opponent playing well.
right.
It can kind of
And those
carry you
cards,
throughout the rest of the duel.
they're designed to be like consistent, super inconsistent, right? Like
Right.
when they hit, they're supposed to be really overpowered, but when they miss, they're supposed to just be game-ending losses.
Right.
So when you get 3 of them in a row that are guaranteed, like an Omni Negate or draw 2, and then it's like late in the game, you have a set head judging, and you're like, I'll just activate it. Who cares?
Just
It's
see what
like
happens.
if you had bad luck all duel and then activate head judging, like that's going to be different than having amazing luck all duel and then a head judging,
Right.
coming
Either
out.
you steal the monster or you just throw the card away. Big deal.
So, I think a lot of people are screaming Desperado nerfs, but I'll be honest with you guys, I like this meta. I think the only thing I would make slight adjustment is just a rebalancing of Desperado. We talk about this again all the time.
Yeah.
I don't think they have to nerf necessarily Despo. I just think they need to rebalance the skill for just even minor changes. For example, head judging always being heads if they haven't used their 3 heads. That would just add some more skill into the matchup, so they don't just randomly toss it away and they have to save it for the late game type of scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the thing I talk about all the time where you can't get back-to-back guaranteed heads. One is guaranteed, then the other one you have to flip
Is
randomly.
random. Oh no. Oh
Like
no.
that would actually make it more skill based, while
Right.
still that would still be the skill to play. Like no one's gonna deny a draw 2 Pot of Greed, right?
Right.
So that would still be the way to go. I think Desperado would be fine. My just minor rebalancing. Noble Knights. phenomenal deck. Let's go. Best deck of the format. Just kidding. Not really.
You want
So
it to be. Let's be honest. You're a little biased here.
not really, to be honest. If it
Not
is, that means
really.
it's gonna
Come
get nerfed.
on now. Come
That means it'll get nerfed if it's the best. I don't really want
Right.
that. So I'm good. It's right now it's kind of filling the role. Take take scuffed OTK Karakuri, scuffed consistency and searching power and complexity of Crystron, mash them together, and that's what Noble Knights are.
Right.
They're in this weird kind of OTK, complex control-ish deck area. Um, they just feel like the most honest deck of the meta, right? They're not playing well. Some of them aren't playing heavy traps. That a heavy trap version is starting to come out, and that's the
Of
one that
course it is.
won
Yeah.
Battle Phase 11 traps, right? Let's
I
go.
haven't seen the deck, but I'm guessing it's 3 Canada, 3 Floodgate, and then like
No,
3
it's
Karma
it's
Cut,
it's
and then
uh it's 3 Karma, 3 Raigeki, 3 Ballista,
okay.
and 2 Noble Knight traps. So it's all discard traps with balance, which is smart.
Okay.
I like it. I like the version.
So you're pitching
Um
your equip spells basically.
you're pitching the Noble Knight trap and the equip spells, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean that's the power. Like obviously Karma Cut, the best trap right now. No,
Right.
there's just no argument. It's everywhere. Decks that don't play it are playing it. For example, we saw Heroes make top 4 on Battle Phase Monday, I think, and he was just side decking 2 Karma Cuts, and that's how powerful it was. He would just put it in and just
Right.
randomly win duels. So Karma Cut, undisputed best trap of the meta. It is crazy. But it's also one of those cards where it's like that's kind of sus. Mini box SR. What other mini box SRs are there? Hey True Nade, Treacherous Trap Hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna get nerfed. I'm sorry, guys. People don't like when I say that because they're like, oh, nah, right, it was a selection box card. Nah, right, it's too new. Nah, man, it's definitely gonna get hit.
It's gonna get
Oh
hit.
my god. Yeah, second most played card ever. That's a limit too. That's a limit too,
Probably
for sure.
February, right?
Probably.
The
Yeah.
February KC Cup.
That's what I told people. I was like, maybe not the next ban list. So maybe not February, but definitely the ban list after. If it's not the next ban list,
Hmm.
definitely we'll see a Karma Cut hit. Should you get a third Karma Cut if you play in tournaments? Oh, absolutely, because it's really good right now. But if you don't play
Right.
in tournaments, you can chill out too, because it's definitely gonna get hit.
What was I gonna say? Oh, Canada making a little bit of a comeback. I've been seeing that
Yeah.
quite a bit lately.
Canadia, people are starting to realize how good that card is in the meta, as we've been screaming and hollering ever since the ban list came out. Obviously, having an extra body is always going to be nice for protection, especially in a meta where Purgatrio is only summonable by one deck. And that Purgatrio is probably just going to get Canadia'd anyway, because that one deck only has the Purgatrio to flip. Everything else is, a Brave Neos these days isn't really worth spending resources to take care of. It's just a Brave Neos, bro. It's all good. Uh, and obviously, as more and more decks are starting to add Exceeds to their lineup, Canadia is coming up kind of nicely. For example, if you're the Shark deck, you got your Shark skill. If you're level duplication, you can level dupe. And the one thing people forget all the time, when you detach from an Xyz monster, you can detach the Canadia back to the grave. It doesn't get banished.
Right.
So unlimited Canadia, and it's gonna get even better if we get a good rank 2, right? Like if you're just able to flat out use your 2 Canadias on the board, make a rank 2, and then just endlessly float them, that's just only gonna get better. So the value of Canadia, it's starting to rise. It's gonna skyrocket soon. Again, it's all up to Konami, right? Like if they never give us rank 2s, then it'll never skyrocket. But if we do get rank 2s, it will skyrocket.
I was playing with the Shadows. We were making a video earlier, and we had a set Karma Cut, and we used Canadia for the discard for the Karma Cut. Have you ever done that? You get
Yeah,
to
and then you
summon it
throw
right
it.
away. Yeah,
It's
it's
really
awesome.
good, man.
Yeah,
Listen, anything that gives you free karma, that's what you want right now.
yeah, that was great.
So that's really good for that. Also, a lot of things people always, 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 whenever I have the Canadia floodgate argument, the one thing people will always forget: if you summon on chain link 2 or higher, they're not going you're not going to be able to floodgate trap hole the monster. It's going to miss the timing. One of the most prominent decks in the meta right now, Noble Knights, can easily summon on chain link 2 or above. Desperado Barrel Dragon can summon on chain link 2 or above. It is rough to play Floodgate Trap Hole. The only decks that should realistically be playing Trap Hole are Invoke Neos, because permanently putting something in defense and then later hitting it with a Purgatrio is a win condition for that deck, right? So you're playing Canadia and Floodgate in that deck. Anyone else, you should highly consider playing Canadia right now over Floodgate. It is the meta call to go for. Everything is targetable besides Lunalights. Lunalights can't play in this meta. Unfortunately, they're getting destroyed left and right. Yeah, that deck just can't play against Desperado, Noble Knight, Cyber Dragon. Just even with Cyber Dragons falling off because no one's really playing them anymore. Because they can't, like, what are they? One Brave Neos, they lose to that essentially.
Well,
Lunalights can't play.
the other point Showers was making about, I asked him why are you playing Canadio over Floodgate in your championship deck, and he just said that if you go second, Floodgate is terrible.
Yeah,
because your
very,
opponent's already got their board set up, and then you really can't
yeah,
do much with it.
Yeah.
So with the Canadio, at least can play some defense with it.
And that's how it's always been, right? Like this is, again, something we always tell people. Historically, those two cards have always fought over position, and the only time they both were together is pretty much Purgatrio. Purgatrio makes them both come together as a big happy family.
And what's nice about the Canadia, once it's summoned out to the field, it can't be destroyed by, or it's unaffected by monster effects. So that's huge. A lot of people forget that, and they try to destroy it.
Right
It's
into
like,
it, yeah.
yes,
yeah, we did it. So there you go.
So are we close to having a meta now? Because this past week I did rogue decks, and I wasn't ready to declare anything like a meta deck or a rogue deck because we're only 2 weeks into it, and someone was knocked me for putting Noble Knights in the rogue deck roundup, and I was just like, hey, I just took the top 5 from the power
I think
rankings,
that's
and then
justified. I think it's totally justified. Like, we
yeah,
don't listen. Power rankings are all about statistics and numbers. We don't say, yeah, this is a meta deck, so I didn't put in rogue decks. Look how low it scored. If you scored low, you scored low. That's just
right.
how
It
it
was
is.
like number 6 in the power rankings, so I'm like, it's number
Yeah.
1 in, in the rogue
And
decks this week.
I even said it in that video we made, Circus. I was like, yeah, I'll be honest. I think people are just suck at Noble Knights right now, and they need to get better before we see them. And here we go. Now they're
Right.
starting to win tournaments. It is one of those decks. Unfortunately, I don't like those when those decks happen, right? Like when Kristrons or Witchcrafters, or these decks happen, and you're like, okay, it sucks that I have to say this, but it is true. Some decks are only good when players play them well,
Right.
and you have to make a consideration for those decks, in math based, for example, power rankings and stuff. When they're around, we have to make a consideration, like, yeah, this is where Kristrons land, this is where Ritual Beasts land, how many people actually play them, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Because usually it requires that one person to play them well, have that good build, then everyone copies them, then they start to rise up in the power
Right.
ranking.
Well, then they start to figure it out. Yeah.
I think what's crucial right now, and why in the coming weeks, we're, probably by this week, end of next week, we're going to definitely have the meta set up. We're starting to see the side deck be the main contributor, not so much the main decks. The main decks are all pretty much decided at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's 1, 2 variant builds for most decks. Noble Knights have like 3 or 4 variants. So that one might shrink a little bit. I don't think we're going to see any more like Storm builds, 20 card. I think 30 cards, My Monster card balance, those two are going to be the go-tos.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just going to try to abuse, the duels as much as you can. Desperado has been the same forever. Their side deck might kind of alter a little bit, but they just don't have the space to side. So that's why they might end up, kind of being stopped a little bit by the side deck. But yeah, now that we're seeing things like DNA Surgery, things like Zombie World, all these cards come into the side deck. Now it's about, it's like, okay, Noble Knights, for example, use them as an example. Are you guys more of a Crystron deck, or are you more of a Ritual Beast deck, where Kristrons, they were heavily targeted by side, but still kind of slipping through and winning tournaments? Or it's like Ritual Beast, where it's like you get hit by the Lancea, the Poisonous Wind, and they just can't win anything anymore. And it's just,
Right.
they just can't play because of side deck, essentially, right? Like, is that what's going to happen to Noble Knights? Is that what's going to happen to Desperado Barrel Dragon? Like, if everyone in the world plays Zombie World, do you just fold and never win another tournament? Or what's going to happen?
Yeah, they're gonna have to adapt somehow.
Yeah, and that's where the exciting part of competitive tournament play comes in, right? Because otherwise, it's just ladder at that point.
Right.
So that'll be an
Yeah.
exciting time to see a card that I really want to keep my eye on. DD Crow.
Oh, okay.
I feel like we say this all the time, but DD Crow should realistically be like huge in
No
this
one
meta.
uses it. I think we saw Ritual Beast trying to cram it into their deck somewhere, didn't
Yeah.
we?
I think even as a side deck card, man, I think it's gonna be good. Like if your opponent goes for the invocation Alistair play, hit it the invocation with the DD Crow, it's over. What do they do at that point, right? Noble Knights, they go for the Madrot play. Madrot summons their monster. The Noble Arm tries to re-equip from the graveyard. DD Crow it. It's over unless they have another equip. It's over. Like their boars didn't get a chance to equip
Right, right.
themselves. Desperado Barrel Dragon goes for the super team Buddy Force Unite with their free Karma Cut Desperado. You hit the Desperado with the DD Crow. Like that all of a sudden Karma Cut has a cost. It's a huge cost and it sucks.
Yeah.
So, that's a card I'm expecting to kind of come into the meta, hopefully, as people kind of experiment with the side deck more. I think DD Crow is super underrated right now. Some people, I think today, Fire Kings made it into the finals. And some people are starting to play it a little bit, so we might see it more. Some people say, oh, it's too much of a brick, I can't fit it, stuff like that. But I don't know. I think, people are still playing Lancia, for example. Lancia is good, but DD Crow might be better just because, like, you deal with Invocation. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how it kind of. Obviously, Lancia is going to be good against Ritual Beasts and stuff. So it's a toss up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how everything shakes out because, like you said, right now it's chaos, but it's kind of fun watching the tournaments because you never know what you're gonna see. And
Yeah.
hey, Noble Knights won, so that's a good thing.
Noble Knights won, Fire Kings won, even the battling boxers having a place. I mean, I looked at that box and I was like, oh, gross. You know what I mean? But we're probably gonna have to make a YouTube video, revisiting battling boxer because apparently that
Really?
box is amazing.
What? No.
You
Really?
get yeah. Listen, the Arvadas making Fire Kings good. They're
Oh,
making
okay.
finals. Battling boxer is a rare hand trap
Yep.
that is taking the tournament scene by storm.
Yep.
Just going through that box, how many rares are in a mini? 4 or 5? Just going through it
Battle and
once
Boxer
might be
is
worth it.
6, actually.
Is it 6? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Even better. So just clearing it once, and if you want to play Fire King, go through it again.
Right.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
I think Herf said we did a video on that, and he said, if you're playing competitive, it's good to go through. If you're a ladder player, you could probably skip it.
Even if you're a ladder player, though, I think
You want the
the
Battle and
Battle and
Boxer?
Boxer, yeah, that should, in theory, assuming you don't get screwed by Konami, that should be a cheap alternative to a lot of other hand traps. The only thing, because like realistically, when I think of the meta, like who is able to make a 4K body to destroy you? Noble Knights can, Shiranui can. Is that it? I think I'm sure someone in the comments right now is typing all of them. But, my point is very few decks actually OTK you through making a 4K body. Most are going to OTK you through hitting you multiple times in a
Right.
turn. And that's it. So unless a deck can do that, Battle and Boxer is inherently better than Sphere, than Kite Roy, than all those cards because it triggers your skills.
Right.
So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. So,
yeah.
all right. I think that's a good place to end it there. We'll be back next week with the Rye Report. I love that name. It's probably the best name for a video that we have.
Rye Report. Desperado was actually the best deck the whole time. All right. Let's go into
Let's
the
go.
video.
All right, guys. Make sure to get in our Discord because that's where we host all of our tournaments. We also have a great new player help channel where you can get all your questions answered in there. We got a new player stream on Saturday nights. It's really awesome. Rise streams what? What are you doing? Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays?
This Saturday, I believe, is Clan Wars, so not this Saturday, but Sunday for sure. This upcoming Sunday is gonna be good. Watch out for the
Oh,
announcements.
watch for the announcements. Yeah.
Monday, and then of course, I'm thinking probably later this week the signups will go up. But you guys who watch this video, you're gonna get a sneak peek first because here it is, January 2nd, that Saturday. Damage step number 2.
That's new for me even. Wow, I got the sneak peek first. Awesome.
There you go.
All right, guys. So make sure to get in the Discord because that's where you're gonna hear the official details for all this stuff. So
Of course.
all right, we're gonna get out of here. I'm Circus. That's Rye.
Bye YouTube. Get Karma Cut.
And we'll see you next time.